Hey everybody, so this week I thought it would be really fun if we read some Dr. Seuss books. So you guys know that Dr. Seuss is my favorite, and so I have a couple different Dr. Seuss books for us to read this week. And today's book is actually called The Butter Battle Book, and it's by Dr. Seuss, and it's published by Random House, New York. And so we're going to read this book, and then we're going to just kind of think about maybe some of the things that happen in it, some of the characters when we're finished, and talk about some of those things that happened in the story. So get ready to read with me. Ready? Open, shut them, give a little clap, and put them in your lap. We're going to read The Butter Battle Book by Dr. Seuss. On the last day of summer, 10 hours before fall, my grandfather took me out to the wall. For a while he stood silent, then finally he said, with a very sad shake of his very old head, "As you know, on this side of the wall, we are Ukes. On the far other side of this wall live the Zooks." Then my grandfather said, "It's high time that you knew of the terribly horrible thing that Zooks do. In every Zook house and in every Zook town, every Zook eats his bread with the butter side down." So we have the Zooks and the Ukes, and the Zooks eat with their butter side down. "But we Ukes, as you know, when we breakfast or sup, spread our bread," Grandpa said, "with the butter side up. That's the right honest way." Grandpa gritted his teeth. "Now you can't trust a Zook who spreads bread underneath. Every Zook must be watched. He has kinks in his soul. And why, as a youth, I made watching my goal. Watching Zooks for the Zook watching border patrol." In those days, of course, the wall wasn't so high, and I could look any Zook square in the eye. If he dared to come close, I could give him a twitch with my tough, tufted, prickly snickberry switch. For a while that worked fine. All the Zooks stayed away, and our country was safe. Then, one terrible day, a very rude Zook by the name of Van Itch snuck up and slingshotted my snickberry switch. With my broken off switch and my head hung in shame, to the chief of Ukuru in great sorrow I came. But our leader just smiled. He said, "You're not to blame, and those Zooks will be sorry they started this game. We'll dress you right up in a fancier suit. We'll give you a fancier slingshot to shoot." And he ordered the boys in the back room to figure how to build me some sort of a triple sling jigger. With my triple sling jigger, I sure felt much bigger. I marched to the wall with a great vim and great vigor, right up to Van Itch with my hand on the trigger. "I'll have no more nonsense," I said with a frown, "from Zooks who eat bread with their butter side down." Van Itch looked quite sickly. He ran off quite quickly. I'm unhappy to say he came back the next day in a spiffy new suit with a big new machine, and he snarled as he said, looking frightfully mean, "You may fling those hard rocks with your triple sling jigger, but I also now have my hand on a trigger. My wonderful weapon, the jigger rock snatch 'em. We'll fling 'em right back just as quick as we catch 'em. We'll have no more nonsense. We'll take no more gup from you Ukes who eat bread with the butter side up." So now they're in a war over the butter, the butter side on their bread. "I have failed, sir," I sobbed as I made my report to the chief Ukaroo in the headquarters fort. He just laughed. "You've done nothing at all of the sort. Our slingshots have failed. That was old-fashioned stuff. Slingshots, dear boy, are not modern enough. All we need is some newfangled kind of a gun. My boys in the back room have already begun to think up a walloping whiz-zinger one. My bright boys are thinking they're right on the right track. They'll think one up quick and will send you right back. They thought up a great one, they certainly did. They thought up a gun called the Kickapoo Kid, which they loaded with powerful Poo-a-Doo powder and ants' eggs and bees' legs and dried fried clam chowder. And they carefully trained a real smart dog named Daniel to serve as our country's first gun-toting spaniel. Then Daniel the Kickapoo Spaniel and I marched back toward the wall with our heads held up high, while everyone cheered and their cheers filled the sky. Fight, fight for the butter side up, do or die. Well, we didn't do, and we didn't quite die, but we sure did get worsted, poor Daniel and I. Van Itch was there too, and he said, the old pig, the boys in my back room invented this rig, called the 8-nozzled elephant toted boom blitz. It shoots high explosive sour cherry stone pits, and will put your dumb Kickapoo kid on the fritz. Poor Daniel and I were scared out of our wits. So they keep coming back with bigger and bigger things. Once more by Van Itch, I was bested and beat. Once again, I limped home from the wall in defeat. I dragged and I sagged, and my spirits were low as I thought they ever could go. When I heard a boom-ba and a diddle-dill-dee, and our butter-up band marched up over the hill. The chief Eucharo had sent them to meet me, along with the right-side-up song girls to greet me. They sang, "Oh, be faithful, believe in thy butter," and they lifted my spirits right out of the gutter. So he was sad because he kept losing, but now he has a band, and now he says he feels like better. "My boy," smiled the chief Eucharo, "we've just voted and made you a general. You've been promoted. Your pretty new uniform's ready. Get in it. The big war is coming. You're going to begin it. And what's more, this time you are certain to win it. My boys in the back room have finally found how. Just wait till you see what they've puttered up now. And their great new machine, you'll fly over that wall and clobber those butter-down zooks, one and all." Those boys in the back room sure knew how to putter. They made me a thing called the utterly sputter, and I jumped aboard with my heart all aflutter and steered toward the land of the upside-down butter. This machine was so modern, so frightfully new, no one knew quite exactly just what it would do. But it had several faucets that sprinkled blue goo, which somehow would sprinkle the zooks as I flew, and gum up that upside-down butter they'd chew. I was racing pell-mell when I heard a voice yell, "If you sprinkle us zooks, you'll get sprinkled as well." Van Itch had a sputter exactly like mine, and he yelled, "My blue gooer is working just fine. And I'm here to say that if yooks can goo zooks, you better forget it, 'cause zooks can goo yooks." So they're fighting with each other still. They're gonna goo each other. Ugh. I flew right back home, and as you may have guessed, I was downright despondent, disturbed, and depressed. And I saw just as soon as I stepped back on land, so were all of the girls in the butter-up band. The chief drum majorette, Ms. Yuki Ann Sue, said that was a pretty sour flight that you flew, and the chief Eucharo has been looking for you. So they're sad they're not winning. I raced to his office. The place was a sight. "Have no fear," said the chief. "Everything is all right. My bright backroom boys have been brighter than bright. They've thought up a gadget that's newer than new. It's filled with mysterious moo-lack-a-moo and can blow all those zooks clear to Salamagoo. They've invented the Bitsy Big Boy Boomeroo. You just run to the wall like a nice little man. Drop this bomb on the zooks just as fast as you can. I've ordered all yooks to stay safe underground while the Bitsy Big Boo Boomeroo is around." As I raced for that wall with the bomb in my hand, I noticed that every last yook in our land was obeying our chief Eucharo's grim command. They were all bravely marching with banners aflutter down a hole for their country and right side up butter. That's when Grandfather found me. He grabbed me, he said. You should beat down that hole, and you're up here instead. But perhaps this is all for the better somehow. You will see me make history right here and right now. So he's going to go with his grandpa. Grandpa leapt up that wall with a lopulous leap, and he cleared his hoarse throat with a bopulous beep, and he screamed, here's the end of that terrible town full of zooks who eat bread with their butter side down. And at that very instant we heard a clup clup of the feet on the wall of old Vantage clumped up. The boys in his back room had made him one too, and his fist was another big boy boomeroo. All below you, he said, into pork and wee beans, all butter side up you to small smithereens. So they both have the same little bomb. I wonder what they're going to do. Grandpa, I shouted, be careful. Oh, gee, who's going to drop it? Will you or will he? Be patient, said Grandpa. We'll see. We will see. And that's the end of our book. So it never tells us what happened. So we have to just guess on our own. But I want to talk about the characters that were in this book. And we know the characters are like the people or animals that are in the story. And so in our story, we had the little boy, his grandpa, the Zooks, the Yooks. We had Van Itch, the other like general. And we had Euchre, I can't remember his name. What was it? Chief Euchreoo. And then the boys in the back room were all different characters that we had in the story. And so later this week, I'm going to read other books to you guys, and you're going to think about who the characters in the story were, and then you'll tell them to me. So you guys have a good day. Go ahead and check my next video for our writing over the Butter Battle book. Bye.